smartboard's been acting up a little bit. Might be because my stuff is on Mac and his is PC, I'm not sure. But anyhow, what Jan Vermeer painted was very ordinary, typical household scenes. A woman putting on jewelry, a woman writing a letter, having a meal, pouring milk. Nothing where it was like anything really dramatic going on, okay? Someone asked last class if there was anything with like the crucifixion or religious figures, because he was asking about what you guys know thus far in the book. And I said, you know, he was really known for this kind of like, you know, monotonous, this is where I live, this is what I'm painting, this is what I have to work with, this is the studio I'm painting in. You'll notice where his perspective is here. It's this corner studio. The left side of his studio had 3 panes of window, and we do believe that this studio was in his mother-in-law's home where they lived. On the back wall, the windows in the back wall created this corner. The windows let in light that was from the northwest, which just gives you an idea of he was very analytical in choosing things and picking things out, probably why he worked so slowly. But like the northwest light gives you lighting at a certain time of day. It's a diffused lighting. Also, where he chose to sit all of the time, if he's sitting here and he's a painter and he's right-handed and he's painting away on his canvas and he's looking this way and the light's coming in from here, it's going to cast a shadow onto his hands and to the paintbrush. But where is the shadow going to be cast? All right. What's that? Away from his, yeah, away from it. So if he's painting, if you guys can imagine you're painting on a canvas and the light's coming in here, you're painting, you have a paintbrush here and the light is going to cast the shadow here. And so the shadow is going to be cast where he is not painting, and so it won't affect what he can see. Conversely, if he was left-handed and he was painting, the shadow is going to be cast where? Right where the brush is touching the canvas. So he was very much a deep thinker in kind of planning things and thinking things through. Again, probably attributing to the fact that he was extremely slow, okay? A lot of things probably came up that he like thought all these things through, and it's like, of course he had anxiety. I mean, you put so much thought into something and it is going to take you longer to complete your painting. All right, this is the Milkmaid. This is where the quote here is from the book that you guys are reading, and it says, when he painted Tanica, she stood there happily pouring milk for months, without a thought passing through that head. God love her. This tells you guys a little bit about the person that Vermeer must have been, okay? The way that Chevalier is portraying Vermeer in this exact quote or reference is that you had to have what character trait to work with him? Patience. There must have been some element of kind of a demanding demeanor for her to sit there and pour milk. Well, that was her job. So for her to even have patience, she was doing her job, but there must have been something about his personality that Chevalier is kind of portraying to you guys that, okay, he must have been, do this, no, you're doing it wrong, pour the milk this way, you're doing that wrong, you know, and for them to, or for Chevalier to say, Tanica just stood there happily pouring milk for months without a thought passing through her head. I love what it says about Tanica, that at some point you have to go, you know what, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with a smile. And I think, you know, in the position she is in her life, you know, maybe that's gotten her to where she is, and that allows her to live a happy life to say, you know what, this is my lot in life, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it with a smile. And I think it's interesting what this picture tells us. Also, if you guys notice in the back corner of this, you'll see a row of Delft tiles. What do we know about Griet and Delft tiles? Her father was a Delft tile maker. Very good. So that kind of supports, you'll hear later about different theories about like the existence of Griet, and so that supports a little bit of the Camp Griet, so to speak. This is a really interesting painting. This is one of my favorites. It's interesting because Vermeer is known to be a master with perspective and a master with light, okay? This perspective is pretty much all wrong. And it's interesting because you look at the control issue. If Vermeer put himself in control, like think about with Tanica. Outside of the painting, Vermeer and Tanica, who's the boss? Vermeer, right? Now here you have Pieter Van Rijn, or Peter Van Rijn. Who's the boss there? Do you guys know who Peter Van Rijn is yet? What's that? The patron, right? Is that what you said? Okay. So do you know what a patron is? Very good. Person who funds the artist. Very often, like nowadays, if you say like we would call them like an investor. You take somebody's idea and you kind of invest in them, and you go, hey, they're going to be somebody, and I believe in them. This patron, Peter Van Rijn, interesting character. What we know about him, I like to take from this painting. You look at him right here, this very well, and again, none of this is like full proof, but you look at this as being Van Rijn. Van Rijn was paying Vermeer to do a painting, okay? Who's the boss there? Van Rijn, okay? Now, interesting because the perspective in the paintings where Vermeer is the boss is very accurate. In this painting, the perspective is not accurate. Let's break this down. Here you have this table. I mean, it looks okay, but when you really look at it, you have this table, and then you have this woman and this man, and supposedly you have Van Rijn. What do we think the relationship is here? Baby married. What's Van Rijn doing? Flirting. We heard last period someone said, you know, he's hitting on her. He's kind of sticking his backside in that guy's face while he's busy kissing her hands. Okay? The other guy looks very dejected and, you know, what am I to do? All right? The woman obviously looks extremely pleased with him, and she's very happy and seems to be thrilled that Van Rijn is about to kiss her hands. Yes?
Why is she staring at the painter instead of Van Rijn?
Great question. I will get there just a second. Let's look real quick, though, at the perspective. If she is sitting here, what does it look like? If she stood up out of her chair and walked straight forward, what would she run into? Like, not what she should run into, what would she run into? The window. Look where she's sitting. Look at how large her body is. Look at where he is and where that man is. Look at how different. It's almost like she should have a whole separate table here. She should be sitting where Van Rijn is, which would take, essentially, if she was sitting here, that would only leave this small area of space right in here for him to be painted. Now, he's obviously saying, here it is. I'm paying my money. I want to be a prominent figure. I want the painting to appear this way. I want her to do this. I want him to do this. I want to be in the center of the painting. I want to be a focus of the painting. And I don't want her looking towards him. I don't want her, you know, maybe even looking at him, because that may appear that she's looking at her. She's looking and giving the audience a look of what? Satisfaction. Exactly. So he is getting across what he wants the painting to convey. Does that make sense? And he's now in control, saying, all right, Vermeer, I'm calling the shots, and this is what I want. And then Vermeer interprets that and paints it this way, which the perspective is not correct. Okay? They should be further back. But he's kind of, you know, pulled them apart and, you know, juxtaposed them where he wants them, where Van Rijn wants them, okay, to convey all of those things that you just told me, all right? So it worked, because you all, as I broke that down, said the exact words that Van Rijn can, like, go live in his infamy of what he wanted people to know of him.